Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to another episode of Take This, a sports podcast where, I gotta be honest, people, where my wonderful co-host, I'm Griff Sutton, by the way, my wonderful co-host, Mr. Brad LaPlante, Brad did something special last week. What he did is he came in, he put his nuts on the table, and he said, fuck you, pay me, Texas A&M money line, and he hit that shit. Round of applause for Brad LaPlante, because I could not believe the call. And you know what's even more impressive about the call is not only that he picked Texas A&M to cover the spread against Bama, he picked Texas A&M money line plus 650. But you know what's even more impressive than that? He called it at the beginning of the NCAA football season. He said, circle this date on your calendars. Texas A&M is going to upset number one or number two Alabama. We figured they'd be number one. Circle it, mark it, book it, and he called it. And I'm just blown away. Brad, I got to know, what do I have to do to have nuts that have the same magnitude as yours? Because my God. Oh.
So to be honest, to be completely honest, I want to say that I was guessing, but part of it wasn't guessing. So I decided I'm gonna make two big bold picks. Okay, at the start of the season, I picked them both after week 1, right? Like I saw Alabama. I think they played Florida at one point, right? They didn't do too hot. Like, they weren't looking too good. Like, that was the moment where I was like, wow, like, Alabama looks a little vulnerable. They look a little off their game.
This is probably one of the weaker Alabama teams we've seen.
That's
it'll
true.
just be this year because they'll get the recruiting class will improve. The guys who are young. It's the same thing. It's like they're literally like the same as Ohio State in that regard, anyway.
Right. So I went up and down. At that point I went up and down Alabama's schedule.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And so there's one reason really that I keyed on in this game, and I was like, Texas A&M looks a little good this year. Like, they've been a disappointment. Fun. They usually are. Okay. And to be fair, to Texas A&M's credit, they were surprisingly good. Like, it wasn't, and this is me saying as I called this game. They were surprisingly good. Like, this dude, I think that whoever the hell their quarterback was, I don't even know the fuck dude's name. He was a backup, I think, before the season, or at least last year. I think he was Texas A&M's backup, and nobody thought this dude would start. Nobody saw this guy coming. And all of a sudden, he's starting a game. He puts up enormous yards. I don't even know what happened here. Let me. I should really have it pulled up, but it was like surprising to see. Even though I had this, and really the only way that I was honestly able to predict that, or that's one of the reasons I highlighted it, is I was like, what is Alabama's hardest away game going to be? That I think was really the gist, because again, it's Texas A&M. You got Kyle Field. It's a trap game.
It was the definition of a trap game.
Absolutely, and I think that's really
because they got trapped.
All it was. Exactly. It's and again, Alabama, obviously not a terrible team. But again, this year they're a little vulnerable. That's how I feel the same way about Ohio State, and Ohio State had that against Oregon.
This is Georgia's year.
Georgia,
right. Bring it fucking home, dude.
And we talked about this at the beginning of the year, that Georgia hadn't won since 1980 or something like that. And it's going to take a while. It's going to take something to win, and this might be the perfect storm. If they, don't fuck up. They look pretty dominant, and But let me see this guy. What the fuck's this dude's name? Zach Calzada. He's a sophomore at Texas A&M. Recruit from Sugar Hill, Georgia. Look at this real quick. He is only completing, 56% of his passes this year.
Yep.
And again,
He's had a great year. He's had a great year.
No, and again, Texas A&M's got 2 losses against Arkansas, against Mississippi State. He didn't look too hot. Against Arkansas, his QBR was 25.4. So and look at this. His QBR against Arkansas, where they lost 20-10, he was 20 for 36. 55% completion percentage, not great. He had 151 passing yards. The average on his average yards 4.2, 1 interception, longest was 23, sacked 3 times. Again, 25.4 QBR. Look at these stats against Alabama, where they won 41-38, 21 for 31, 67% completion percentage, 9.2 average. 1 interception, longest pass was only 34 yards, but I feel like they kind of had a lot of things going for him. But then his QBR was 90. Just the contrast between those 2 games, and that was only 2 weeks ago that Texas A&M, because they were coming off a pretty rough week playing Mississippi State, where they just lost.
Yeah.
And so just the fact that
ultimate bounce back game.
And God, and I'm not gonna say again, Texas A&M over and over again, they are the Notre Dame of the SEC. They are just, or the Texas of the SEC. So hyped and then so much disappointing.
Yep.
And I mean that a lot of that goes into their conference too, but they just get all this hype and then they just get brought right back down to earth. All the time. Happens all the time. And it's it was just such a surprise to see Calzada do just good at all. So man, that was, oh my God. I still cannot believe that game happened. I am still hard to react to that. I saw that. I was like, Alabama's trailed for the first time this year. It's the perfect storm for this to happen.
Yep.
My God.
Well,
but
congratulations, my friend. I'm quite proud of you.
Yeah.
But I just had to address that because that was a monumental call on your part. One I wouldn't have
just
made.
Next Stafford's just got to win a Super Bowl.
I hope you're right about that. Not because obviously it doesn't help the Lions, but it rubs it in the fucking it. I saw an interesting theory about how Stafford winning the Super Bowl with another team would end the Bobby Lane curse.
Oh, that's funny.
So because the Lions shipped him off to a terrible Pittsburgh team and then won, whatever the NFL title was before the Super Bowl, without him,
that would happen.
The Lions shipping off their quarterback, and then that quarterback winning a Super Bowl with a different team would reverse the curse. So
right.
It's got to happen, and then boom, playoffs next year. No, it's not happening. But we'll get to the Lions in a bit. Let's start. You want to talk about Kyrie Irving for a minute?
So I do. And I just want to say
the most cancerous player in all of the NBA.
Yeah. So Kyrie Irving,
and this is before even the Vax thing. He's been a cancer since he was with Boston.
So when I was doing all my New York stuff, in the Mets and in the whatever, Brooklyn Nets were actually a team that I was intrigued by. What's so funny about that too is the Knicks are ridiculously more likable than the Nets are. But Kyrie Irving, first off, do not like him. He's the Antichrist. So bad. I hate him. I cannot stand him. So he's taking a stand, right? Obviously, not getting vaxxed. And we've seen too with a lot of players, right? Where they're I'm taking a stand. We've seen in the NBA all the time, players forcing their way out of contracts. We see it right now with Ben Simmons forcing himself out of a team and into another team to get traded. Yep. And what are you going to do, right? James Harden did that yesterday and went to the Nets. and said Houston fucking blows, and they traded him the next day. So like,
when you're that good,
time.
and that well known, especially when your name has star power, you can get away with it.
Oh, absolutely. So I think with the Kyrie Irving stuff, it really pushes the limits of that. So he's taking a stand, not getting vaxxed, right? Now the problem with that is that New York City, where he plays, has a mandate in that you must be vaccinated in order to attend events inside. You have to, and part of that, which is so hilarious, imagine going to see a comedian, okay, and or any sort of performance, okay, and I'm only using the comedian thing because I just went and saw John Mulaney, but because they had a mandate when I went and saw John Mulaney, and imagine if John Mulaney was like, nah, I'm not gonna get the vaccine. And all of a sudden, your venue's like, fuck you, you can't come see this show because your asshole over here won't come. I mean, it's different because, in the NBA, it's a team and, he just won't play. But that's the issue, is that Kyrie Irving cannot play in stadiums where there is a vaccine mandate.
So that is all of their home games.
The issue with that, so he can't play in at a full-time status. So because of that, he's only part-time. Brooklyn Nets are like, fuck off.
It's worse than that. He can't play any of his home games. Right?
Practice.
There's half the games gone. He can't play any of the LA teams. That is the Los Angeles Lakers, the Golden State Warriors, the Los Angeles Clippers, and am I missing one? Is there another California-based team? That might be it. It looks like that's it. Yeah, that is it. But then he also can't go to Toronto because he can't enter Canada without it. So I don't know how often the Nets play those teams, but you're looking at over half the games he can't play.
Right.
And here's the other thing that I didn't think about.
Toronto.
Here's the other thing I didn't think about. What happens when we get to playoffs? So you can't play any of your home playoff games. What happens if the finals, it's Nets-Lakers? He can't play any of the finals. And he is supposed to be one of your top three players.
Player. Right. You can't depend on him as an organization. It's the same thing with not the same thing, but when Trevor Bauer got suspended by the MLB for sexual assault. The LA Dodgers were like, fuck off, we're going to move on ahead without you because we're not going to sacrifice our team's chances of winning the World Series.
And you know what?
You're a fucking dope idiot.
That's exactly what the Nets are doing. James Harden today came out and said, well, we have two other leaders on this team, so, his choice is his choice, but we're going to do what we're going to do. And that's exactly what's happening. They have said, screw you, dude. We all got vaxxed. Some of us probably didn't want to, but we did because guess what? We want to win a championship. And if you're going to be a distraction from that, we don't want any part of you here. So, like I said, I don't care. At this point, I don't care what you want to do with the vaccine. You want to get it? Cool. You don't want to get it? Fine. But your actions have consequences, and your employers are private companies. And especially sports franchises, guess what they want to do? They want to win. And if you're going to be a distraction from that or get in the way of that, see you later, bye. It's just that simple. And Kyrie, as good as he is not worth the distraction. So they're going to play without him. And you know what the funniest thing about the whole situation is, Brad? Because I forget who it was that came out and spoke for him today, because he is not facing anyone about this himself. He's not coming out and talking about it. But I can't remember who came out and spoke for him. I'll try to find it. But they basically came out and say Kyrie is not anti-vax.
Okay.
Kyrie is doing this because he is standing up. He is the voice for the voiceless, for the people who are losing their jobs and not being able to, losing their jobs because of their employers requiring vaccines to continue working. So you're telling me Kyrie Irving is the martyr for he is the martyr for the unheard, which, by the way, the anti-vax group, not even anti-vax, but like the anti-vax / people who don't want to get vaccinated and think it's wrong to lose their job over it, they are not silent. Okay, I can assure you that. Kyrie, they did not need a megaphone. They are getting their point across just fine with protests everywhere, okay? But so I'm like, okay, so you're not anti-vax. So you're just getting this to prove a point, and I get it. Some points are worth proving and, being bold about. But this? You're saying, oh, this thing works, and I'm not going to get it, hurt my team's chances of winning, and to give random people a voice because you don't want... Like, again, it just feels so far-fetched, and, obviously Kyrie does not have the greatest background with science, being a flat earther, or at least a former confessed flat earther. So, yeah. Kyrie's an idiot. He's a cancer. He's been a cancer on several of his teams, and this is just the newest thing in a long line. So, sorry, not sorry. I'm sure the Nets will be fine, and we'll still make a championship run without him.
I mean, yeah, probably. So let's get into bets real quick. So I wanted to talk about hockey, and we all know that's not.
I have the Maple Leafs Montreal game on my other monitor here actually as we speak.
Do you really?
Yeah, just
is
in the
that
background.
on TNT?
It's on some random fucking network. I'm illegally streaming it because I don't know. I can't figure. It's like SNO because it's two Canadian teams, so I don't know. I checked CBC, but I don't know.
So something is interesting now. ESPN. Okay, now.
By the way, that was a fantastic broadcast.
It was absolutely. The one thing I couldn't stand.
ESPN hockey might save ESPN.
I tweeted this. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, you were watching that game, right?
Yeah.
But I only watched the Penguins Lightning game, and the Lightning were so unimpressive. I'm really hoping that maybe carries into the Red Wings tomorrow, but
here's hoping. I'll be wearing my jersey and everything. I'll be ready.
So
it's hockey day.
So it's weird. Right? Like, I love that broadcast, by the way. And I know that, it's usually, I have a feeling that the leagues themselves have more of a control over the, the quality of a broadcast than, people think that they do, right? Like, there's a reason why NFL broadcasts are usually significantly worse than college football broadcasts. And I'm not saying that college football broadcasts are bad. Like, they both have ridiculous shit about them. But generally speaking, it's usually the leagues themselves that are terrible, especially when it comes to national television. But it's weird that they had this weird aerial view. I think is the one thing that bugged me. Is when they would go to this drone going over the side of the thing or something, and it would show this weird 3D panoramic view type thing. That got me. I didn't get that at all. But other than that, broadcasting is great. I think they brought over a few announcers from NBC when they had done it, and people that have just been around forever. And the one analyst dude on I forget his name, on the first one, the Lightning, the Penguins, he's been around forever too, but he's the guy that's on NHL 22 or the EA Sports video games, which is just, just dude has a familiar voice. But so I wanted to talk about you about the Red Wings, right? We're both from Michigan, so we got to talk about the Red Wings, of course, right?
Historically, one of the best franchises to ever play the game.
The
original
Lightning
six, lots and lots of Stanley Cups. But it's kind of funny with the Wings because it's they had that great the Gordie Howe era, right? And then they were the Dead Wings, and then the 90s and 2000s they were winning cups, and then they've kind of dipped down. The nice thing is it's not going to be decades of incompetence because we have the Messiah himself, Steve Yzerman.
Right.
So
right. Well, he built that. Like if you look at
that
the
Tampa
structure
team that
of the
they're going to
Lightning
play
team,
tomorrow, the Tampa team that won a Stanley Cup, have won several
Right.
Stanley Cups in the last several years. He built that. That's all
what's funny too.
That's all I need to
is
know.
If you go back and you look at the stuff that the Lightning like have done, right? Like 2008, 2009, when they really started building up that roster, because I think the guy that's been on the team the longest is from like a 2008 draft or something like that. If you look at those drafts when he started like maneuvering around like picks for like certain picks, and then like just the way that the algorithm, it's the same. And that it makes you like so excited because it's just such like, it's weird that he's like played these like mind games and stuff, and like I don't know, dude's a genius. I don't know.
And you know what's funny? The Wings could have had him. Like I could have had him when he went to before he went to Tampa, and that would have been, and we would have been it. We would have been. Still, we would have been. It would have been a hockey dynasty because we never would have really dipped back down since the 90s. And
the only team that I think would have been hard to compete with is the only teams I should say is Chicago and
but we would have
Tampa
been
Bay.
competing.
Or not Tampa Bay, but Pittsburgh.
We would have been competing. That's the whole
and
thing.
That's the thing. Yeah, they would have.
I remember after 08, 09, 07, 08, and 08, 09, when the Wings won and then the Pens won the Cups in those years and faced each other back to back. After those years, it was like, oh my God, this is the next. This is Celtics Lakers, right? That like for hockey, right? That's what it was going to be, and you know, it fell apart for the Wings, unfortunately. But they're going to be back. They're not going to be back this year. Let's be real. No. But man, I am very excited about this team and what they have to offer.
I was reading a prediction. All right, and I just want to get your take. I was reading a prediction, all right, and so someone had them, it was like I think it was a betting site, and they had them at 77.5 points. They would be that would be second to last. I think the only team that would be worst in this division-wise, second to last in their division out of 8 teams. And I think it was like the Blue Jackets were the only team that was below them. That would put them around 33 to 38 wins, depending on how many times they lose in overtime.
Right. 30. If they won 38 straight up, that would put them
at 77 or so.
76 points for 38 wins.
Right. So, yeah. So it would be around that, again, like depending on how many, again, because you get 2 points for a win and 1 point for an overtime loss.
Yep. Which, by the way, I think the hockey point system is my favorite way of determining worth.
Really? I would love.
I just like that an overtime loss is at least something. That. What's that?
I would love if baseball adopted that. The main reason for that is, first off, I hate this stupid games back shit. Like, I hate that. But I think it would help if they realign the divisions. I feel like when I was going over the division realignment, I didn't want to mention this because I felt like it complicated everything. Right. But when I was thinking about it, I was like, if they could have done that. I think the main thing that I was thinking about was specifically if they overhauled the extra innings stuff. Specifically with it was something to do with like ties. I was like, what if we introduce ties in baseball? And I understand like that's such a weird thing. That would never happen. First off, I would never see that happening, but I would love to see it, It's one of those like secret fetishes of mine that I have in like sports is like I would love to just like if a game doesn't end after 12 innings, fuck it. Get out of here. Like I don't need to see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just people hate ties. Like that's the thing. It's probably the worst thing about the NFL is that games can end in a tie.
Right. And I don't understand that. Like I'm like we're still on ties, but yeah, so Anyway, so Red Wings right now are predicted to get about 77.5 points. Do you think that they reach that or stay under that?
I think they're going to exceed expectations. I would take the over on this.
I mean, I would honestly not be surprised if they end up as a 500 team.
Same boat. I think losing Vrana at the beginning of this year is kind of a blow. They got Vrana in that trade for Mantha and some picks. By the way, that was such a good trade. So it's that's a bummer, but like, man, I'm really excited about this lineup. I mean, we got the guys in here that I think a lot of them I'm excited about. We have, I'm trying to see if I can, here we go, the Red Wings roster. There we go. Said the things right. So, like, your forwards, you got Zadina, you got Robbie Fabrini. The one I'm most excited about is Lucas Raymond, who was a 2020 draft pick, and he's already made the team, which is huge. I'm absolutely stoked that he is on the team, and looks like he's going to be a first or second liner. I'm excited to see things from Rasmussen and see how he develops, and same thing with Nemestikov and Adam Ernie. Very excited for all those guys, and obviously you got Larkin and Bertuzzi, who you hope just continue to get better and can kind of maintain their leadership roles in the team. And then the defensemen, this is where I get excited. I love Philip Hronik. I love Nick Leddy. I think, I shouldn't say I love Nick Leddy. I like what they got for Nick Leddy. He's who they got with the trade with the New York Islanders. I think he's going to be a really good, experienced defenseman on this team to kind of help with these younger guys like Hronik and like, Gustav Lindstrom, and the one I think we're most excited to see this year is Moritz Seider. We got, which is, by the way, I'm looking at like the Red Wings roster. Dude was born in 2001. That's insane.
Insane, I know.
It's crazy to think. Like my younger sister is older than this dude, and he is a starter for the Red Wings. But no, it's
like Larkin is only like my age.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. So between,
I think he's younger than me.
No, he is. I was gonna say, even like Gustav Lindstrom was born in October of '98. I am 7 months older than him, and that's crazy to think. But like,
yeah.
I'm excited. Those two guys especially, but especially Seider, I am so excited to see what they have. And they're going to be raw. They're going to make mistakes. They're not going to be perfect. But I do think they're going to blow us away. I think we're going to be very, very happy and surprised with this team and what they do. And, I'm excited to see, what we have. Obviously, we reassigned Taro Hirose, Riley Barber, and Joe Veleno back to Grand Rapids, which is fine. Mm-hmm. But like Joe Veleno, I still think has potential, and I do think Taro Hirose is a very nice guy to bring in for depth during injuries and things like that. So, and could potentially get to the point where he is a starter on this team. So I think the Wings we're finally, this is the year where we're going to turn the corner. So I think, like you said, Brad, I think they're going to be a 500 team. And I'm just it's kind of like, this is kind of how I view the Wings this year is how I'm going to view the Detroit Lions next year. I don't expect them to make playoffs. I don't expect them any sort of like high level of competition. I just want to see them play hard. I want to see them play competitive. I want them to be in most of the games they play, even if they lose half of them. And I just want to see production from the young guys who are finally getting their shot, and continued production from our mainstays like Zadina, Larkin, and Bertuzzi. So that's what I want to see this year, and I'm just going to have fun watching it. And, hopefully I'm cheering more than I'm like, oh, God damn it, what are you guys doing? So that's my my Detroit Red Wings analysis. Now that we've totally lost our audience because people don't typically like deep breakdowns into hockey, Brad, do you want to get into the picks? Oh, champion.
Oh my God! Don't even. Yeah. So I decided I had to go with Texas A&M again. Like I had to rebound.
That's who you're taking?
Outside of this. So here's the deal. So what's so funny to me? So if I'm gonna go back. Hold on for scores here. Texas A&M is playing this week. They're playing Missouri. And I totally messed up here. So I picked all road teams, by the way.
Okay.
Just in case you were wondering.
Interesting strategy.
I know, crazy. So number 21, Texas A&M at Missouri. That game is at 12 p.m. on SEC Network, in case anyone wants to watch it. Anyway, so we got Texas A&M ranked after beating number 1 Alabama.
It's a pretty good way to get ranked.
So yeah, pretty good way to get ranked. So Texas A&M is predicted to win this game by 9 points. I am going to say Missouri covers the spread. Absolutely,
9.5 points. Yep,
100%. I think that this game is a lot closer than a lot of people think it will be.
It's the I mean, I believe in the up-down theory in the NFL, but this is like. I don't think it happens as much in college, but I think there's definitely going to be a situation here where they're coming off in the emotional high of that win last week. They get a little complacent. They got that big hurdle past it. I still, like you said, I think they win. But, yeah, I agree. I think, they're not going to cover that spread.
No, and again, I think that this is a case where, Texas A&M wins by, a field goal. Missouri's a good team. They're not trash.
Yeah, I mean, Texas was unranked. You can't let the ranking fool you. Texas was unranked until last week. So this is two really unranked teams before the upset of the year happened.
Well, exactly. And so we got number 19 BYU, and like you mentioned with rankings, this is absolutely the epitome of that. Okay, we got number 19
Zach
BYU
Wilson went to BYU. He's
Baylor.
elite.
Okay, but get this. Okay? Don't let the ranking fool you.
That was a joke.
Oh, I get it. Wow. Well, I want to
Zach
get
Wilson's
into this
actually
because
doing
look,
okay.
So this game's on ESPN. Okay, we got number 19 BYU at Baylor. Now, both these teams are 5-1, but BYU is number 19, and Baylor is still. That's my thing, with the rankings. If the ranking system is actually good, then how is BYU, a ranked team, the underdog in this game? Explain that to me. Baylor is a 6.5 point favorite. The ranking system is clearly broken if this is a setup we have.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot based on record and things like
schedule,
that.
Right. Baylor isn't a Big 12. I feel like they obviously have a good team. Just give me the points. Just give me. I don't think, because I originally said I was going to take a money line on this. I'm just going to say that Baylor covers the spread. I don't even think BYU's in this game.
Plus it's better for you to just take.
I think they win by at least a touchdown.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because you took Baylor. The value for you. I was like, Brad, we can't do points on this because if you do it based on the betting odds, if you do Baylor money line, it's you would have gotten a third of a point.
Right, and that's
which,
why
by the way,
I
Brad
saw
has 15 points after last week.
Stupid. Because I think originally I wanted to take money line, but I was gonna take BYU to win. But then I was like, wait, that seems too good. It seemed too ridiculous to say that.
Yeah. This is an interesting game that you've chosen, but
right.
So you're going.
Just Baylor's gonna win at least a touchdown. I don't think that BYU. There's no hope. I don't think for this game.
Okay, you're going Baylor. Cover the spread.
Absolutely.
All right.
So let's do Michigan State, number 10. All right. Number 10, Michigan State at Indiana. All right. Now, Michigan State is, and this is honestly a game I was chosen purely out of not knowing other teams to pick, because I feel like we have a shortened slate. Like, does that not feel right? Like,
Well,
most
a
teams
lot
have
of teams
bye
are
week this
not
week.
playing this week. There's bye weeks. Like Michigan's not
That's the
playing. So
thing.
this is that point of the season before we start really ramping up.
Right. Yeah, because usually I feel like usually with the NCAA schedule they would have like almost like front heavy like schedules, where like most of the bye weeks are at the beginning,
Yeah.
like weeks 1, 2, 3. This time it feels like in the middle, like that's where the bye weeks are. But so I got Michigan State at Indiana. Michigan State gonna win, obviously. They're gonna improve to 7-0. But they are going to cover the spread, which is crazy. I feel like betting on Michigan State's almost a given at this point.
I mean, that everyone else keeps betting against them. Might as well keep making
the
money.
only time that they have not covered the spread this year is against Nebraska. It's the
Which
only
Nebraska's a sneaky good team.
And like,
Look
it's just
what they did to
crazy
Michigan.
me because
They
it's like
screwed
if I
me
was,
out of a point.
if I was a betting man, I would take Michigan State every game they play because
they're always gonna like. They're either going to be
They're better.
given way too small of a point spread to cover, or they're going to be the underdogs. So, like,
right. So, like, yeah, it's 4.5 points. I think that obviously they win by more than 4.5.
I do
like,
too.
That seems just so
Indiana's
low to
awful.
me.
Yeah,
And,
Indiana is not a good team.
right. And so, like,
Most of
that's why I was just surprised.
anyone not in like the top 6 of the Big Ten is not a good team.
Yeah, and I don't want to give anyone betting advice, but if I were you, I would take Michigan State in almost every game they play. This feels like, an easy
we're
one.
using betting spreads for college at least because
Right.
college is
Right, it's more dependent.
it's
on
no fun to bet like I got Alabama, Mississippi State. I pick Alabama to win the game. That's not a hard pick. The NFL is a lot harder to just that's why pick'ems are a thing, but they're not so much a thing in
Well,
they're not so much a thing
I'm
in
going to say
college.
one more thing. I'm going to say one more thing about Michigan State. I think that next year is going to be the opposite, for a couple of reasons. But you're going to have a lot of these players are going to leave, okay, and that is, I feel like, going to like impact that, and I feel like Michigan State's going to be a lot more hyped than they are this year. So, based on that alone, I feel like they are going to be way overhyped, and they are going to be a team that you're probably going to want to stay away from for the most part.
Yeah. No, I think they've already proved a lot of people. I think once we get to these, if they can beat one of the big other 3 in the Big Ten East, Penn State, Michigan, or Ohio State, beat at least one of those, if not more, the people are paying attention.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, they've just been everything that they've needed to be. I think Peyton Thorne is one of the best QBs in the nation, let alone Big Ten. So
yeah, I have some thoughts on that. All right, on to my
so let's get into yours.
I had a good week. 2 for 3 in college. I think it was 2 for 4 in the NFL, and like even my college pick, I lost. I picked Michigan. They just didn't cover the spread. They won by 3. The spread was 3.5. What can you do? Alabama, Mississippi State. Bama is a 16.5 point favorite. Give me Bama. I feel bad for any team that's going to be in Alabama's way until they get to Georgia in the championship game. Because, good Lord, they are pissed. Nick Saban is murdering those poor men. Like, they are throwing up at practice. Guaranteed. Because they're not going to lose another game like that anyway. So give me Alabama. They're going to they're going to run the score up this week. All right. I got California at number 9, Oregon. Oregon favored by 13.5. I'm also taking the favorite here. Give me Oregon. I think after their loss, they're number 9 in the country. They probably don't have a shot to make the playoff, but if they really do want a chance, they got to get dominating wins to get themselves at least back up there, win your Pac-12 game, but you got to have some really convincing victories for the rest of the way here. So I think they can easily beat Cal by 14. Give me the Ducks. And then finally, Purdue at number 2, Iowa. Maybe I'm getting stale here, Brad. I'm taking the favorite again here. Quite simply, I just think Iowa, I know we talked about kind of like that riding that emotional high. They beat Penn State when, in all honesty, they probably wouldn't have if it weren't for Clifford, Penn State's quarterback, getting hurt. But you play the game as it happens, and you play with the players you got. They're favorited by 11.5 here. I think they cover that 11.5. I think at this point they are trying to prove they are legit. They're gonna do everything they can. They're trying to make a college football playoff at this point. So and Purdue is dog shit. So I think they win it by that 11.5 quite comfortably. I'm actually surprised the spread is not higher. All right, Brad, we got some NFL slate. Let's talk about it. Got Dolphins at Jaguars. This is another London game. For some reason, the NFL were like, we want to market in London, but don't send any good teams
that they do that.
There. So, who do you got? Jags or Dolphins?
God, you didn't give me. Oh my God, sorry. I don't want to say you didn't give me enough time. I obviously didn't even. I to be honest, before when we were prepping for this, I didn't even look at these. So bad. But God, Dolphins all the way. I am banking on the Jaguars being so terrible all the time. It's getting embarrassing.
Give me
the fact that Trevor Lawrence hasn't had a win yet, and God, I want him to. But
do you know God. the Jags are actually coming up on being the most the Jaguars are the most have one of the longest active losing streaks, even in NFL history. Right now, they've lost 20 games in a row, and they're coming up on the all-time record, which I forget who holds it, if it's the Browns or if it's the Lions or who. They're very close to beating that record. So, yeah, I actually am picking the Jaguars here, though. I think, of course, they'll win, not in their home stadium. But they'll finally get it. If there's a team you're going to beat, it'll be the Dolphins. Although I think Tua actually, wait, hold on. Bueller, hold on. I got to look up some. I got to see. Is Tua back? Tua did return to practice. I'm still going to go Jags, even though I think the Dolphins win. I'm going to go Jags because this is terrible betting advice, but I'm going Jags in the hope that they win, and the Detroit Lions are still neck and neck with them for the first overall pick. That's my pick. All right, moving on. Speaking of the Lions, we got the Cincinnati Bengals. Joey Burrow and his Bengals at the Detroit Lions. Yeah, well,
Bengals.
Give me the Detroit Lions.
Oh my God, you are just real. You're just probably going against me because you need points, don't you?
It's not even that, Brad. I'm only down 6. That's not a crazy margin. I think one of two things is going to happen this week. Well, obviously, you're either going to win or you're going to lose. But I think after everything that happened at the end of the game last week with Dan Campbell, the emotional press conference, I think the Lions are sneaky here. They've been close in a lot of the games they play. They play hard for Dan Campbell. I think, this all kind of depends upon, does he keep them? Does he keep that locker room despite all these heartbreaking losses? If he does, they're going to come out to play hard against the Bengals. I think the Bengals, obviously much more talented. I think the big thing is covering those receivers is going to be difficult. But I think that the Lions will play for him. I think the Bengals are coming off a very emotional loss with all the missed field goals against Green Bay, a game they probably feel like they should have won. And I don't think their coach, the Bengals coach, is going to be able to do enough to kind of regroup that team to get their shit together this week. And I think, the Lions are a game you circle on the schedule and you go, that's our get-right game, and you don't take them seriously. So that's my hope, is that the Lions are kind of a trap game for said Bengals. So, That's me being hopeful. That's also why I picked the Chargers, or why I picked the Jaguars to win, because if the Lions win, then I need the Jaguars to win too, so they're still neck and neck for number one. All right, moving on. Chargers at Ravens. Who do you got?
I think you put the Chargers on a lot on this board.
They're my favorite team. They're my favorite team to watch.
This is the first time I'm going against them. Baltimore, absolutely, 100%.
Really?
Yeah, I kept, because here's the thing, right? So and I've noticed this after you've put the Chargers on the board a couple times. I've noticed my bias, about just liking the Chargers. Then I'll just take them. But it's hard. Specifically after seeing what Lamar Jackson did against in the last game. Who the fuck did they play? Indianapolis, was it?
Yeah.
After seeing him in that game, dude put up 430 yards and then threw for a shit ton of touchdowns. Really just established that pocket maturity. And I've never seen him like that. He looked good. He looked like an elite quarterback. He looked like he was the second best quarterback in the league next to Patrick Mahomes. It was hard to just overstate how good he was. And I really I just think that he's got that, and I don't know if momentum's going to carry him or what, but God, he looked good.
Right. No, don't get me wrong. Lamar, he's that dude. I mean, I don't know. He keeps getting doubted, and I don't know why. He keeps doing shit like this. Yeah. But I'm still picking the Chargers. I think that Chargers offense is just so high-powered. I mean, all the weapons. Justin Herbert is going to be an elite quarterback. I think we're seeing that now before our eyes. Austin Eckler is one of maybe the best receiving back in the entire NFL. Just is a fantastic running back to have. You have the duo of wide receivers between Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, who, by the way, Mike Williams, I drafted him in round 8 of fantasy. He's the number 1 wide receiver in points scored this year, and he is on my team. Sleeper Mike Williams. Anyway, but between him and Keenan Allen, and then you have Jared Cook as a great tight end option. They're just in a very, very good team, and the defense as well. You got one of the best safeties in the league, Derwin James. And some other you got Joey Bosa on the line. They do a lot of the aspects of the game right, and I really, really, really like their coach. Oh God, I'm forgetting his name. It's Brandon Staley. Brandon Staley, who has been nothing short of great in his first year with his play calling. I think that's really helped open up everything for Justin Herbert. So I'm taking the Chargers. All right, finally, I think this is kind of the undisputed game of the week, I'd say. Cardinals at Browns, man. What's going to happen? Are the Lions going to get their first win, or are the Cardinals going to get their first loss? What do you think, Brad?
So, this is a hard one. I hate that you put this on here, but this is a hard one. So I want to say Browns, and I'm it's hard for me to choose because I love Kyler Murray. Dude's a beast. Okay, I'm hoping they win, but realistically, I'm thinking the Browns are going to win. I think that Baker Mayfield has enough in him. You know how some teams just I'm not going to lose another game. I don't think that the Browns fall to 3-3. I don't think there's any way that happens. And I think that the Cardinals just lose a game. This is just a game that they're going to lose. I don't think that they lose another game for quite a bit unless they lose to Green Bay. But the rest of their schedule just seems like they can compete. They're a very big surprise, which is good. But I don't know. You've seen they've had. It's the NFL, so every game is close. They had one game against Minnesota, but they've been really just blowing out teams. But I think that this is the week, where they just kind of get brought back down to earth. It's I don't know. I mean, and again, this is just me flipping a coin, really. But it seems like Cleveland, just being at home in Cleveland, I don't know if that's going to have an effect on it or whatever. But
yeah, I'm taking the Browns too.
Yeah,
I think the Cardinals
I want the Cardinals to win.
I think they get figured out a little bit. I think that Browns defense is going to kind of put a damper on that air raid offense. And I don't think that my big issue with the Cardinals is with Cliff Kingsbury is what can he do when the explosiveness of his offense gets subdued? And I think, like you said, I think Baker's trying to prove himself. People still doubt him. I think he's going to come out. And like I said, with the NFL up-down theory, I think the Browns, after that loss last week, they're going to bounce back this week and get the win. So, all right, Brad, that was who you got. Let's take a quick break. And after our quick break, we're gonna talk a little bit about our hot takes and a little bit of college football action. We're talking about the Big Ten. So we'll talk about that right after this. All right, Brad, it's hot take time. You wrote down several. I only wrote down one. I do have another one that I didn't write that I kind of had canoodling around in my brain. So I'm going to let you start. Go down your list here, man. What are your hottest takes in the sporting world?
So I got a couple. All right, I have a couple. Now the first one is that college refs suck. Okay, now and the whole thing's broken. The whole system is broken. And I know we've talked a little bit about the targeting stuff, how there should be like little and there's precedent for it, right? Like there should be
safety, player safety.
Well, yeah, and there should be some sort of there's levels to it. One thing that I don't like about the targeting calls, specifically in college football, is that it's either targeting or it's not. Like a call that's reviewed for being targeting cannot be like recalled from being targeting and then called unnecessary roughness. Like that can't happen. And I don't understand why. I think because and there's one big distinction, right? Like obviously targeting is a version of unnecessary roughness. But like it's just an extreme level. But it's like, why can't, say we review a targeting call and obviously it's an egregious hit, but it's not the definition of targeting, right? Because targeting is a specific play that we are trying to avoid. Why can't you review a call for targeting and obviously he doesn't lower his shoulders, but maybe he goes way too into a tackle or whatever. And it just looks bad. Like it just looks like you just did that and it's too much, right? Like totally not something that you need to do. You can't call it back as being unnecessary roughness. It either is targeting or it's not. And the problem with that though too is that there's no penalty on it. If it's not targeting, even though it might have been a bad hit, it's just a football play. So the issue anyway. So but besides targeting, I can't get over how much pain I'm in watching college football games now. It's ruined for me. It's not ruined. I'll still watch, but it's hard to watch. I'm watching some of this game and there's just some penalties that are just bad. I think there was one, God, I can't remember what it was, the Michigan State game, where this dude, God, fuck, what was it? I think the ref, it looked like the ref just dropped a flag or something, and it feels like it's one of those things, right? If a ref throws a flag on the call and you're just what is that? Can there be a dude to be in the booth, common sense man, that's fuck off, pick up the flag, there's nothing there, because I feel like you're ruining teams' chances of having a play, at that point, you're actively it's getting to a point where it's harming the competition of the game. And I think that's the main issue that I have a problem with. You know, because it's one thing to like overcome like bad calls, because that's just gonna part of the game, right? But like it's unwatchable. I don't know if you've seen that, but like every time I look, I'm like, there's a flag for no reason. Or they're calling people for pass interference, and at this point, the announcers at this point are acknowledging it. They're like, that's a shitty call, and they're not afraid to do it. Like, when the announcers have a problem with it, like, I feel like there's an issue. Like, we're all like at rock bottom. My second hot take, and I'm gonna get into this real quick, is that Michigan. So I have it on here, and I'm not sure I want to say it. I have on here that Michigan will lose to Michigan State, and I do not think that I can say that. And I find it weird and I'll get into it, but I find it weird that all these like Michigan State fans are like trash talking, right? Like Michigan's like, oh, we have a better team. Michigan State's like, oh no, we have a better team. Like, you know, I don't think that either team knows what's going to happen. Like, we don't. We just don't. I mean, I know that's how football works, but we just don't know what's going to happen. Now, I will say this, and I had this down before, and I feel like this is more of a down-to-earth like take, right? Is that Michigan's quarterback situation is going to lose them a few games, and I'll tell you why. Going between Cade McNamara and JJ McCarthy is a
QB
it's a
carousels don't work.
No, they do not. And so first off, Cade's obviously the worst QB. And I know that we say that JJ McCarthy does not have enough like experience with the team, right? Here's my issue with that. Okay, now here's the thing too, is that Michigan's coming off of a season where their head coach should have been fired. Okay, Jim Harbaugh should be gone. He took a massive pay cut to stay on this team, to stay as the coach of this team. Okay, now so at this point, if I was a Michigan fan, if you go 9-3, but you have a good QB going into next season, like, you know what's going to happen. Like, when's the last time that you could confidently say that we have a good QB this season, we know who it is, and we're good at the QB position? Like, when is the last time the Michigan's had that? If Michigan goes 9-3, but they have a QB at the end, like, even if they lose to Ohio State, if coming off of a year where you had to switch QBs, you fucked up Joe Milton. Like, Joe Milton just wasn't good, did not fit the expectation. Like, you come off of a season where you just you didn't know what was going to happen, but you went 9-3, you stayed competitive, even if they beat Michigan State and they go 10-2. Like, even that is but they have a QB in JJ McCarthy. And my problem though is that if you actually stick with Cade McNamara, like, do you think that, can you confidently say that he's going to go to the NFL next year? He's a junior, right? Like, if he's a senior next year, I think he stays at Michigan 100%. Like, I would not trust that he's going to come back, like, and be, like, good. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't want him as my QB next year.
No, I don't want him either. I want JJ.
And that's the issue that I have.
But here's the thing. I want JJ next year. I don't want him as a raw freshman.
And I agree. And I agree with that. Now, what's the problem, though, is that if you don't get him acclimated this year, then what happens?
Well, he's a freshman, Brad. Most freshmen don't play.
But here's the thing, okay? So if you honestly have Cade McNamara finish the season, what happens to him? Like, where, like, are you going to have a QB battle next year?
No, he heads for the transfer portal. See you later. Or
do you trust that Jim Harbaugh is going to make that decision, though?
No, I'm telling you what I'd do. I'm telling you exactly what I would do. And I would say I think Cade has the arm talent. He's got the cannon. I think and he's obviously untested. He's a freshman. There is a lot we don't know.
Yeah.
And we see how he does. But my thing is, we know what Cade is. He's a junior. He is not a great passer. He's a game manager. whereas Cade is more the gunslinger. So I'd rather see.
What are the advantages of playing
JJ
Cade McNamara now?
What was that?
What are the advantages of playing Cade McNamara now?
He's safe. He's not going to make mistakes. He's not going to turn the ball over.
Here's a scenario that I have then.
Okay.
If Michigan
He's really
State,
good at handing the ball off.
He's not, because he fell while doing it.
Okay, I can forgive that. That was
he fell while handing the ball off.
I can forgive. It was one time. That's his best asset, is that he is very safe with the ball. He does not turn it over, whether throwing or fumbling.
Yeah, he fell before he fumbled it. So here's the issue I have. Okay, so what happens if this QB shit loses you a game? Because I think it is. What happens when that water level starts rising? What happens when the talent you face gets better? And Ohio State, is a better team. Or, okay, let's start with Michigan State. Michigan State has better talent than Michigan has faced right now. Okay, now What happens when Cade McNamara can't run the ball, struggles passing the ball, and then you hand it to J.J. McCarthy and he's not familiar with the offense? And, you don't know what's going to happen, right?
Here's what I'll tell you. Michigan will have trouble running the ball. They'll still run it, and they'll still run it somewhat effectively, but they're not going to run it like they normally do.
Okay.
Cade's going to start throwing it. Michigan State has awful corners. And they do. And that is what is going to allow Cade to look okay in that game. He's going to be safe. He's going to move the ball downfield, and once they're in the red zone, they'll go back to trying to run it in. Use your powerful asset to get into the end zone. But when you go against the Penn State and you go against Ohio State, now here's the thing with Ohio State. This is a year where their corner group is probably the weakest it's ever been.
Yeah.
So potentially, Cade could be fine. Again, pick apart those corners. Maybe he does okay. But I do worry if you need to rely on him too much, eventually he might make a mistake. Because here's the thing. He's safe with the ball as in his decision-making, but his arm talent might hurt him. So, as of right now, Cade is just the safe option. But
So then here's what happens. Okay, now what happens when... And I like what Jim Harbaugh's doing. Obviously, you know this. I haven't been a big fan of him. I wish he would have just gone. I mean, I know that,
But this year,
and I'm not saying
he's
that
done
you get
all right.
rid of the
He's
guy.
definitely beaten expectations.
Oh, absolutely. But what happens when Cade, doesn't do great? Okay, so say hypothetically, sky falls. Okay, Michigan loses to Michigan State on October 30th. Michigan loses Michigan State. Okay, now both teams 7-0. Michigan would be 7-1. 7-1.
Michigan.
At that point.
So you're saying MSU wins, Michigan loses.
Yes. Okay. What happens when because I have a feeling, and I don't know that this would happen, but I have a feeling that if things aren't working with Cade, at a desperate attempt to regain control, Jim Harbaugh might swap him.
Absolutely.
Switch him out.
Yep.
Do you think that happens and then JJ becomes the rest of the... Because if I was a Michigan fan, I would want Cade to fuck up, Michigan to swap to J.J. McCarthy. That's what I would want. And then that J.J. McCarthy is your quarterback going in next season. Because if Cade McNamara finishes the season as QB, there's no guarantee that there won't be a QB battle next season.
That's true.
And that's I think that's my concern. If I was a Michigan fan, I would want to know that J.J. McCarthy is going to be my QB 100% by next year.
I think I said this a couple weeks ago. If losing this year, if you lose to Penn State and Ohio State, but you beat MSU, because I think MSU is beatable with Cade. I think our teams are pretty neck and neck in
they're pretty even,
we have we have different areas where we both have good running games, right? But
I think
Michigan State has a way better
stronger
passing attack, but Michigan I think has a way better defense in terms of all around.
You're right.
So it's it's going to be a good game. That's why I'm excited for this one, because Michigan has a shot, Michigan State has a shot. It's going to be fun. But like I'm not
gonna be
looking
fun,
forward to
yeah.
Ohio State because I still think they lose. But here's what I want: you can beat Michigan State with Cade because, like we mentioned, bad corners. But my thing is if you lose to Penn State and you lose to Ohio State, but you put Cade in those games, or sorry, you put JJ in at some point in those games and you let him play, and you see JJ is just a talent machine. He's perfect. He not perfect, but he looks fantastic. He looks like your starting QB for the next 2 to 3 years, depending on like if he's that good. He's gone after his junior year to go pro. So, if that's what happens and you lose to Penn State and Ohio State, I am okay with it. I'm fine with losing to those teams this year if it means you got your quarterback.
And,
just don't get blown
that's
out by
the thing.
Ohio State. Don't get blown out.
I think that if you're Jim Harbaugh and Cade McNamara lets you down at any, like, I think you give him the short leash. Like, I think that, like, if Cade doesn't do good at one point or another, I think that you get rid of him and you just put JJ in the whole time. Because, like...
Well, the issue, like, if you want to get rid of Cade, you just say, hey, we're starting JJ, and he goes, okay, I'm going to the transfer portal, and that's that.
And, I mean, that's that. I mean, you know that JJ's your quarterback of the future.
Yeah.
And I know that freshmen usually sit out the first year, but this is absolutely a scenario where I would have given your better talent the reins at the beginning of the season. Like, and I know, and again, like, because if Michigan went 8-4 even, and they had JJ, who's this dude with this incredible talent, like, absolutely, like, I would be okay with that as a Michigan fan. Like, 8-4 would be the bare minimum, but you got a quarterback going in next season. You know that you got a better team. And do I think that Michigan would have had, like, even with JJ at the helm, do I think that they would have been the, like, better team? Because I think that Michigan State fans are excited that JJ's not starting. Like, I think
most likely,
like,
yeah.
Because I'm glad. I hope Michigan sticks with Cade, because that means that Michigan would be easier to beat.
Yep. No, I agree.
I think that for two reasons. Like, I think that Michigan State has a good chance of beating Michigan, specifically because Michigan is better at certain assets of the game, like, overall. Again, I don't know what's going to happen, but I feel like Michigan State has a better run game than Michigan does. Obviously Kenneth Walker Jr. Kenneth Walker the third.
Here's the thing. I think Kenneth Walker is a better running back than, like, Haskins or Corum. I think Michigan has the better O-line. That's why they're so close, I think. But the better back is Walker. And I think, come on, Michigan. Like, don't get me wrong, that's not taking anything away from Haskins. I mean, that fucking run he had against Nebraska where he hurdled the dude and then ran like 25 yards further, that was awesome. Yeah, that was sick. That's why, because these teams are fun. Like, I know we're... Like, the whole QB situation at Michigan is the only reason I am not like, yes, I'm so excited for Michigan football. Right. Because both of these teams are fun again. They're both playing well. They're both playing competitive. And we're going to have a top 10 matchup, as long as neither one fucks anything up. But we're going to have a top 10 matchup on Halloween weekend, dude. Like, that's great. That's so, like, even if we lose, I'll be sad, obviously. But, like, that's just... Yeah. It's so good for the teams here, and I just want Michigan. Like, Michigan State's going to figure it out. I have full confidence in Mel Tucker. Tuck coming, keep chopping. All right, and I think Harbaugh this year. I like what he's done. He's done a good job this year. I can't take that away from him. But it's the QB thing. I just need that. I need you to figure that out, and next year we could be ready to rock and fucking roll. So, yeah.
I remember texting you, like, I said, like, what's the deal with Blake Corum? Because I haven't really watched him, right? Like, what's the deal with Blake Corum, right? Like, I hadn't really watched him before. I'd seen, like, a couple snippets here and there, but I was like, he didn't seem like he was making a big difference, whatever. Then the dude runs that fucking huge-ass touchdown, and you're like, that's why. But I thought that was funny. it was just so funny to me that I didn't see it, and now like it's like right in front of my face. But both teams, again, like you said, are good. And I just want to mention this last two things real quick. First off, Peyton Thorne, best QB in the Big Ten. And I know that's a lot saying that, like, with CJ Stroud being on Ohio State, obviously, like the only quarterback with a better QB rating is CJ Stroud. Dude's like great. But I think that Peyton Thorne, one of the craziest things is you watch him and you see that maturity, and then you remember that Michigan State has him for another 1-2 years after this year, is wild to me. So it's great, and this dude seems like he's gonna be like at least a second round pick in the NFL if he matures at a good rate. One thing I wanted to mention though, NFL wise, I have one NFL take, and it is that I have almost no confidence in Dan Campbell.
I disagree with you vehemently on this.
You asked me to elaborate on this, and I wanted to, and I was trying to put together my thoughts. And this is gonna sound so bad, but and we talk a lot about Mike Valeni on 97.1, who is one of the biggest like voices in sports in Detroit, and so it's one thing that I feel like I just kind of disagree on a little bit. And specifically because, like when Matt Patricia was first hired by, and it didn't look great when Matt Patricia was first hired by the Lions, but it's weird to me that Dan Campbell is given a longer leash than Matt Patricia is, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that, again, the hiring situation just wasn't great with what Bob Quinn, Lions GM, did to this organization and how much he like just fucked it up. Because when Matt Patricia, if you remember, when Matt Patricia was hired, he was Bobby's friend from New England, so that was the big red flag, right? You can't really have a red flag after a red flag like that in the NFL, because you're like, anyone's better at this point. But the big concern I had about Detroit, and this is a big problem with the NFL, well, not the NFL, but just being a bad NFL organization, is that when you are a bad team, getting a good head coach to GM combination is not likely, because it's not a flashy job. It's not a job that's going to attract many people, frankly. So when the Lions hired the first guy, Brad Holmes, as GM, I liked him because of the draft situation. We've talked about that before.
This is the dude who drafted Aaron Donald.
Rams. Right, he was the Rams draft guy, and the Rams have, they went to a Super Bowl a few years back. They built a team that's worth going on. They and again, like,
this
Matthew
is the guy
Stafford
who drafted. I mean, granted, he drafted Goff, but like Goff fit the system relatively okay. So
I mean, yeah, and Goff was the first overall dude. Like, he's fine.
And he was projected
worked
to be
pretty
there,
well.
and like
right.
And from what we've seen from his picks so far this year, Penei Sewell, he's had some rough games, but he's 21. He literally just turned 21. He was dealing with an ankle injury this last weekend, and he has looked really good in some other games. So Penei Sewell looks like he's going to be a Pro Bowler. Not this year, but like in the future he will be. Amon-Ra St. Brown has been a very adequate wide receiver, especially on a team that has no wide receivers. And some of his other defensive picks, McNeil and Arun Zurike, are guys who they have not been getting a ton of reps, but they've been on the field and they've done well so far. So I like Brad Holmes a lot. I'm excited to see what he does with lots of draft capital coming up.
Dan Campbell frustrates me. And I mean, he's got, I don't know, like, the one thing is like he's got these players like playing,
which is just like very refreshing from the last.
It is, and I know that because I know a lot of players say that when they were on the Lions teams before, they loved playing with what's the dude's name?
Caldwell.
Before Patricia.
Caldwell,
right? Like Orlovsky talks about that a lot.
But Caldwell, I hate the Caldwell love because Caldwell could not call a game to save his life. His clock management was awful, and half the time he didn't look like he knew what he was doing. He looked confused.
It's just embarrassing too to tiresome bozo off the road, like after him, you know.
He could have been good. He had such a good team, and at times he looked brilliant, and then other times it was like, what the fuck are we doing? So anyway,
right. So I just don't I just am not buying in, and I mean, I hope that he.
Well, okay, I have an honest question for you.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you my thoughts on Campbell. I can't judge anything this man does.
I guess.
Because he has no talent, Brad. And I know you know this. I'm saying this like the audience, but I'm saying
I know.
Is I'm exasperated by how little talent there is in this team. There is maybe one person on that defense, maybe two that stay on the team. That is the rookies that were drafted and Tracy Walker, because he looks like he's so far he's having a very quietly good year. He's one of the highest rated safeties from Pro Football Focus, and he had some really good important plays on Sunday against the Vikings that allowed the Lions to even stay in that game. So
when am I allowed to criticize him?
No. I'm not. So here's the thing. I can't criticize the wins and losses. I can't criticize this, the scheme, because he has admitted I have to dumb down the scheme because of the players that they have, which are not good ones, not high IQ. They're not football intelligence is not there, at least not for a lot of them. Because a lot of them are there's a lot of undrafted rookies on that team because of the injuries as well that have been playing the last 2 weeks. So I think you criticizing him on that is it's not fair. It's like saying, why can't you write anything down when I've given you 13 broken pencils?
Right. What you
can criticize him on is his coaching philosophy, and we've talked about this in previous weeks. With the Baltimore game, not being aggressive and trying to win the game, and instead kicking the field goal and running the ball 3 times to take their timeouts, which allowed Baltimore to have 50 seconds to get a field goal with Justin Tucker. And then that 4th down play, only rushing 3, although I have more of an issue with Aaron Glenn than that, because I think we all know that Campbell is the leader, whereas his coordinators is who he leans on for more of the X's and O's. And I don't doubt Campbell, I know, has some coaching intelligence. He's been a coach in the league for a long time and is a former player. But I think he really does lean on Aaron Glenn and Anthony Lynn, Deuce Staley, Aubrey Pleasant, all of his positional and coaches and coordinators. And I have an issue with Glenn when he rushed 3 on that 4th and 19 against Baltimore. And we saw it again this last Sunday with the 3-man rush on the 4th down, or when it wasn't a 4th down, but the Vikings needed to get 20 yards with 20 seconds and no timeouts, and they got the 20 yards in the one play because they only rushed 3, which when your secondary is that bad, even when you have 8 guys in coverage, when it's that bad, it doesn't matter. You can't cover him for that long because the 3-man rush gives Kirk Cousins all day to throw. So I guess my question to you is what don't you like about what he's done? Because my thing was those philosophies, but I looked at Sunday against the Vikings, and he coached a perfect game in terms of running the game, running the clock, the game management. It was perfect. So he punted on 4th down when at times when he should have, 4th and 4s when they were within a score, things like that. He was pissed at his team. You could see him yelling at his offense, "Get the fuck off the field!" But he punted in times where he should have. He got aggressive when he should have, and when he scored that touchdown at the end, he went for 2, which I liked. When you are the worst team, especially on the road, you go for the win and don't play for overtime. I thought he called a perfect game on Sunday, and I was encouraged by that because I think it showed he learned from previous weeks of some of his poor play calling, against Chicago and the Ravens. And listen, I am not sold on him by any means. Obviously, I think he's fun. After the last coach we had, he's at least entertaining, and I can appreciate that. I'm not sold on him. I need to see more, and what I really need to see is next year and the year after when they're ready to compete again and really developing players. But locker room buy-in is a big deal, and he very clearly has this team playing hard for him, and I think that's very important for when you get good, talented players to play hard for you. That makes a big difference. And then also when they're trying to sign free agents, knowing that Dan Campbell is a guy who does things for his guys and is a good guy to play under, that helps in free agency signings. It's not the only thing, but I think it definitely factors into it.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. I guess I guess no confidence is a little bit of an overreaction. Because I think that like right now the Lions are like at the epitome of the Lions, like their history and everything. Right now they are the epitome of the team. I mean, they are the first team in NFL history. Get this, they are the first team in NFL history to lose twice on last minute. Last
50-yard field goals.
50-yard or more field goals. And one
only team to do that twice in one season.
Yeah, and I mean, again, that is the epitome of the Lions.
Yep.
Is it not? So,
breaking the worst records in the NFL.
Right. So real quick, you had one hot take?
Yeah, so this really low one I got is I said Iowa will win the Big Ten and go to the playoff. And the kind of hidden one I have in here is they make it to the championship.
You really think so?
My thought. So this hot take, the second. So I think the first part isn't super hot take, but it basically means they're going to beat Ohio State or Penn State, whoever goes to the championship. I think
that's true.
I think they do. I think they're.
Does Ohio State play? They don't play Iowa, do they?
No, they don't. And so here's my reasoning. Ohio State has a good quarterback. I know you think Peyton Thorne's the best QB in the Big Ten. I think it's C.J. Stroud still, especially because he's only going to get better.
Fair. And they're up there. I really do.
And that's nothing against Peyton Thorne. He has been very good this year. Very good. I wish I had Peyton. I would like J.J. McCarthy over any of them. But I would take Peyton Thorne. Like, in that game, if it's Cade versus Thorne, Thorne's the better QB on the field. So, but I think Iowa has such a good defense. Such a good defense. And I think Iowa would flood Indianapolis for a Big Ten title game. Oh, my God, it'd be insane.
It'd go insane, yeah.
And I think that defense is so good and the Ohio State offense the Ohio State defense has so many weaknesses because they're young. It's literally just because they're young and less experienced, although they are obviously figuring it out as the season has gone along. I think they could do enough. And so after lost my train of thought. Yeah, so when you consider how good Iowa's defense is, I think, the offense is still inexperienced. They've gotten up much better, but I think that defense is a buzzsaw. And I think they could beat in Ohio State in a championship game, or it could be Penn State again in that championship game. And we've seen they could beat them, and it was close, and it took some things falling their way. But hey, they won the game at the end of the day, and that's all that matters. So I think, and as far as the secondary condition to this take of they win a playoff game, it all depends on who's there, obviously. Like, I don't think they necessarily beat a Bama. They definitely don't beat Georgia, but I don't think they'd be the 4 seed. But, like, whoever that other team is, right? If we got, like, Bama, Georgia, Iowa, whoever team 4 is, like, if it's Cincinnati, I think Iowa whoops Cincinnati. So, I think if Iowa is the first seed or second seed, the second or third seed. If they're the second seed, I think they could win it. Because here's the thing I'm now thinking about. If it's going to be Georgia-Bama, and Bama loses to Georgia in that title game, Bama might not make the playoff. With 2 losses, I don't think they can. Not when you have an undefeated Cincinnati team.
And I mean, I wouldn't, and that's the thing. Like I don't think that this year, because I think that, and this is an interesting point, like about Cincinnati. I think that if they don't lose any more games, again, they got the ranked matchup against SMU. Like if they lose to SMU, like then
obviously,
obviously,
so
right?
Obviously, there's a lot of things that need
I
to
think that
happen.
they get in because of the vulnerabilities of these big teams, right? Like with Georgia, obviously Georgia's good this year, but with Alabama having 2 losses or even 1 loss, I don't think that Cincinnati would not get in over them just because of the again, it's the vulnerabilities of the biggest teams this year.
Yep.
Really is.
But like I said, it's Georgia's.
Clemson.
It's Georgia's to lose at this point.
Right.
So.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, Brad. We're kind of up against it, so let's just quickly do the fantasy recap. We tweeted out our records, but let's talk a little bit about last week because I had a great week.
I gotta go first.
Yeah, no, please. First? Yeah, please do.
I would love to go first because I had a great game. So I fell asleep. I did not watch Monday Night Football. Okay, you texted me. I think you won. Now I didn't even see that because I woke up and I checked my fantasy scores. Mm-hmm. So I was down. Just to give you a recap, I was down 185 to 135 or something like that. So I had 45 points or something to cover. It was ridiculous. I did not think I was going to.
But you had 3 players.
I did. That was the thing. I had 3 players on Monday Night Football. I had Jonathan Taylor for Indy, Zach Pascal for Indy, and Mark Andrews for Baltimore, right?
Good old Andrews. You were down 185 to 157.
That was that was after Jonathan Taylor had already scored, I think, that touchdown.
The 76-yarders. Yeah, you had Taylor,
right. So
Andrews,
that was
and
at that point.
Pascal, right? Those are your 3.
Right. And I think because I was down way more, I worked out the math to be that I needed.
You texted me, it was 45. Basically, you needed 15 points a player.
I need 15 per person. Now, because he had his last 2 guys go on Sunday Night Football, I didn't have any Sunday Nighters. And I was winning before Sunday Night Football. And then he jumped up 185 to it was 130 something. But then on Monday Night Football, I needed 15 per person. I didn't even need that at that point because, Jonathan Taylor had a good game. You know who really helped was Justin Herbert. He had 42 fucking points. But the real kicker, though, was Mark Andrews, who put up a whole 41.7.
Insane.
Points.
What
and if he did not do that, I would have lost. If he was him alone,
the fact that
carried me.
Taylor had 2 touchdowns as well. Those 2 just...
Right, and I didn't even need Pascal to do fucking shit because you already had Mark Andrews. I didn't even need him.
Yep.
At all. And, God. And this week, what's kind of funny is I had a couple stressful weeks. The 2 teams that I was going up against these past 2 weeks, I think, both had winning records. They had a good team. And this week, I'm against, I think, one of the worst teams. And I think what's funny, too, is the 1 week I lost was the 1 week all my guys had, you know how it works, right? All my guys had a bad game, and then all his guys had a good game. And then all of a sudden,
just really, you get shellacked.
Well, exactly. You see the guy I was against last week, this week, he had 133, which, again, I would have fucking destroyed him. Yeah. But that's just how the cookie crumbles, right?
Yep. So, speaking of Justin Herbert, man, I got to talk about my team here because I love Justin Herbert. He is my favorite. Now, I've told you this, the formerly known San Diego Chargers, even when they moved to LA, the Chargers are one of my secondary teams. It's the Chargers and the Bills, and then the Browns are a tier below that. But I love the Bills. I love the Chargers. I root for those teams always, unless they're against the Lions, because the Lions are my number 1. And it's just nice seeing one of the teams I root for. Both of them found their quarterbacks, so hopefully Lions are next. But yeah, so in my main league, my 12-man league, and I tweeted this out at a few days ago about how my leagues are going. I won 179.42 to 116.28. I had Justin Herbert, and in my league, we have bonuses. If a quarterback throws a 50-plus yard touchdown, or if a receiver or running back rushes or receives a 40-plus yard touchdown, it is worth 4 points. So, Herbert had a 50-plus yard touchdown to Mike Williams. I have Herbert and Mike Williams. When that play happened, it was their first touchdown of the game. Williams had 20 points or like 24 points because of the catch and the yards and the touchdown and the bonus points. And Herbert had like 20.4 already. It was the first quarter still. And they had already scored more than some quarterbacks get in a whole game. Herbert had more points on that one play or in the few plays than Mahomes did all game. And I went against Mahomes this week. So yeah, Herbert in my league had 50.82 because we also do a bonus.
Fucking hell. Oh my God.
When you get to 300 yards as a receiver, you get a bonus 3 points. And receivers, when they get to 100 yards, get a rushing yards, 100 rushing or receiving. Can't be like 50 of one and 50 of the other. It has to be 100 of that specific. You get a bonus point. So I had Justin Herbert with 50.82. I had Mike Williams with 49.5. So 100 points from those two alone. And then I have Alvin Kamara with 29. DeAndre Swift with 22.4. And those were the bulk of my point scores. DJ Moore had a bad week, only had 8.8. Cameron Brate, who I had to pick up because George Kittle is on IR. So I lost my third round pick, who was, one of the best tight ends. Lost him for a few weeks. So Cameron Brate got me 2.2. I played Marvin Jones instead of Cortland Sutton because of the matchup. He got me 3.5 when Cortland Sutton had 26 on my bench. I would have broken 200 if I played Cortland Sutton because Cortland Sutton had a touchdown. So
yeah, I somehow got lucky.
And then my defense only got 4. So like I got very lucky with the high point scores, but after losing the first 2 weeks, Brad, I'm on a 3-game win streak and back to 3-2. I'm in second place in my division. I'm in 4th place overall. I'm currently in the playoffs.
So, I mean, that's good. I got lucky, too. I was going to mention with my bench. Like, my bench did not put up much points. Like, you know how, like, sometimes you're like, fuck.
Yeah,
because
that was me with Cortland Sutton.
Puts up, right.
Because that was before the Mike Williams explosion.
Because of injuries, my team is kind of ravished, because I had to get rid of a lot of guys, or a couple guys, because, they're out for the season and they're not worth keeping or whatever. So my bench just isn't great. Plus, deeper leagues, weaker benches.
Yep.
So all my, fantasy, I think my bench put up like, God, like I want to say like worse than like Amari Cooper or something, like, you know what I mean? It's just like nothing. It was non-existent. Like it didn't matter. So like one guy puts up like the I think the total on my bench minus Mac Jones, who's the QB, who I only have for when Herbert
is on his bye week.
Is right, exactly. I think they put up a total of 5, 10, 14, 18, not even more than 20 points outside of my QB.
Which that means that's good, though. It means you played the right players.
Well, exactly, right. And so I'm 4-1 now.
Yeah.
I am
first
at the top of my division.
Yep.
There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3-2 teams. 4, 2, and 3 team, or no, 5, 2, and 3 teams, and then 1, 1, and 4 team.
Yep. And then,
God.
So talk about the other 2 leagues. I like half own these teams because one of them is my wife's team in her work league that I help her with. She's involved with it, but obviously I'm much more football knowledgeable.
Right.
I follow this shit
like
a goddamn nerd, and she does not, which is totally fine. But that league, it's a 10-man league. After losing week 1, 4-game win streak, 4-1, she is tied for first. She also had Justin Herbert, but she also had Austin Eckler and Aaron Jones in that league because, again, 10-man league, she had the last pick. Which, by the way, if you're in a 10-man league, number 10 is the best place to pick. Hands down, because there's just so much talent still there, and you could go back to back. Anyway, and then in my dad's 14-man league that I drafted the team for him, and like I said, we kind of talk each week if he does wire pickups, so I'm kind of counting that. I drafted the fucking team. He won convincingly. Devontae Adams had a killer game. Tom Brady had 5 touchdowns. He smacked him. And he also had Mike Davis, who had like 11 points. And this is in a league that is much more like touchdown focused. So that team is also 4-1. So, like, overall this year, all my teams have winning records, and several of them are one-loss teams. So, I'm really happy with how fantasy's going so far. It was looking a little rough at first, but we're looking really good right now. And, hopefully playoffs and championships are on the horizon for all of us. So, Brad, you got anything else for the people?
Yeah, I do.
Go ahead.
The Aggies won. Go Aggies. They're gonna lose this. Well, they're not gonna lose. They're just not gonna cover spread. But let's see. NHL on ESPN is back, which is exciting. I encourage everyone to watch it. Great broadcast, great game. Love
Steve Levy is a hockey announcer through and through. He's okay on football. I love him on hockey broadcasts, though.
I mean, so do I. But God, I am excited.
I am too.
Back.
Wings on tomorrow. Thursday night football. Another jam-packed week of football. Though not a great slate on Saturday, but the Sunday games are going to be fun. As always, people, be smart with your bets. Remember to set your fantasy lineups, and always make your free throws. Brad, if you got nothing else for the people, I'm going to say goodbye. Brad, anything else for the people? No. Okay. People, it's been real. We will talk to you all next week, and hopefully I can make up some fucking ground on Brad and our fucking who you got segment, because he's 6 points ahead of me thanks to his big dick pick. So, with that, everyone have a great weekend. Enjoy yourselves. Be kind. Love you, and we'll see you next week.